In a quiet little village surrounded by whispering trees and golden fields, there lived a curious girl named Lila. Lila loved three things more than anything else: stories, exploring, and her grandmother's attic. Now the attic was not an ordinary attic. It creaked when you stepped in, smelled like old paper and cinnamon, and was filled with trunks, books, and strange objects nobody remembered. One rainy afternoon, while thunder rolled softly outside, Lila climbed up the narrow stairs with a candle in hand. "I'll just look for a minute," she whispered. But Lila never just looked for a minute. As she searched through dusty boxes, she found something unusual: a small chipped teapot. It looked ordinary, except for one thing: it was warm. Lila frowned. "That's strange." She picked it up carefully, and something slipped out from underneath. A rolled-up piece of paper. "A map," she gasped. She unrolled it slowly. It showed winding paths, a forest, a river shaped like a snake, and a big red X. At the top, written in curly ink, were the words, "To the Keeper of Courage." Lila's heart thumped. A treasure map. The next morning, the rain had stopped, the sky was bright, and everything smelled fresh. Lila packed a small bag, a sandwich, a flashlight, and her favorite red scarf. Just a quick adventure, she told herself. She followed the map out of the village, past the old well, and toward the Whispering Woods. Now, the Whispering Woods had a reputation. People said the trees spoke. Lila hesitated at the edge. "You're brave," she reminded herself, and she stepped inside. The forest was cool and shadowy. Leaves rustled, even though there was no wind. "Hello?" Lila called softly. A voice answered. "Hello?" Lila jumped. "Who's there? Who's there?" echoed the trees. She gulped. "Okay, just echoes," she said, though she wasn't entirely convinced. She checked the map. "Follow the twisting path." She walked deeper. Soon, she came across something unexpected: a fox. But not just any fox. This one wore tiny round glasses. "Ah," said the fox, adjusting his glasses. "A traveler." Lila blinked. You talk." "Of course," said the fox. "You're in the Whispering Woods." Lila thought for a moment. "Fair point. I am Felix," said the fox. "And you are clearly on a quest." Lila nodded eagerly and showed him the map. Felix studied it. "Ah, the Keeper of Courage. Very rare. Do you know where it is?" Lila asked. "I do," Felix said, "but the path is not easy." "I'm not afraid," Lila said quickly. Felix smiled slightly. "We'll see." Felix guided Lila through the forest, until they reached a wide river. The water shimmered strangely, like liquid glass. "This is the River of Reflections," Felix explained. "It looks beautiful," Lila said. "It shows you your fears," Felix added. Lila paused. "My." She stepped onto the first stone in the river. The water rippled. Suddenly, she saw something in it. Herself, standing alone. "No one wants to play with you," whispered a voice. Lila's chest tightened. "That's not true," she said. The image shifted. She saw herself failing, dropping things, making mistakes. "You're not good enough." Lila clenched her fists. "Yes, I am," she said louder. Felix watched quietly from the shore. Lila stepped forward. The voices grew louder. "You'll never succeed." Tears filled her eyes. For a moment she almost turned back, but then she remembered something her grandmother always said. "Courage doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you keep going anyway." Lila wiped her tears. "I am scared," she said, "but I'm still going." She stepped onto the final stone. The river went still, and the voices disappeared. Felix nodded. "Well done." On the other side of the river stood a steep rocky mountain. "The next challenge," Felix said, "is the Mountain of Echoes." They began to climb. The higher they went, the louder the wind howled. Suddenly, voices echoed around them. "Turn back. It's too hard. You can't do this." Lila covered her ears. "They're so loud." "They are your doubts," Felix said calmly. "They grow stronger the higher you climb." Lila felt tired. Her legs ached. "What if they're right?" she whispered. Felix stopped. "Do you want to turn back?" Lila looked down. The path behind her seemed long and scary. Then she looked up. The peak was glowing in sunlight. "I've come this far," she said. She took another step. "I'm not stopping now." The voices screamed louder, but Lila kept climbing, step by step, until finally, she reached the top. At the peak stood a small stone door. It opened slowly. Inside was a glowing room, and in the center, a tiny flickering light. "That's it," Lila said. "That," Felix said softly, "is the keeper of courage." Lila stepped closer. The light floated toward her. It wasn't big or powerful. It was small, gentle, warm. "It doesn't look like a treasure," Lila said.
The light flickered. And then, it spoke. "Courage isn't something you find," it said. "It's something you carry." Lila blinked. "Me? You faced your fears," the light said. "You kept going. That's courage." Lila smiled slowly. "So, I already had it." The light glowed brighter. "Yes." It gently touched her chest. And then, it disappeared. As Lila and Felix made their way back, everything felt different. The forest wasn't scary anymore. The river was calm. The path felt easier. At the edge of the woods, Felix stopped. "This is where we part ways," he said. "Will I see you again?" Lila asked. Felix smiled. "Whenever you need courage," he said. "Just remember today." And with that, he vanished into the trees. Lila returned home just as the sun was setting. She climbed back into the attic and placed the map under the teapot. It was no longer warm, just an ordinary teapot again, or maybe not, Lila said with a grin. That night, as she lay in bed, she thought about everything she had done. She had been scared, very scared, but she had kept going, and that made her feel strong. The next morning, Lila woke up with a big smile, because she knew something important now. Adventure wasn't just out in the world, it was inside her, and somewhere she was sure another map was waiting.